Hi guys, thank you so much for dropping by and welcome to my little vlog for Golden Week 2019. Right now I'm in my hotel room in Kaohsiung, which is a city in the south of Taiwan, and it's where a lot of my Chinese family lives. We're here for a bit of a family gathering, and it's Asian Mother's Day today, so yeah, a lot of my mum's side of the family has come together. We've been having a lot of great food. I've put on a lot of weight and seriously need to diet when I get back to Japan, but I've got a little bit of downtime today, so I thought it was a good time to get started on a vlog about the past couple of weeks. So at the beginning of the holiday, my parents came over to visit me in Tokyo, and that's what I'm going to start with today. We spent about 3 days doing various quite interesting things before we headed to Kansai. I've been filming all the touristy stuff we've been doing during this trip, so don't expect beautiful Casey Neistat drone shots and stuff like that, but maybe this will be on the interesting side, and just for my sake I want to document it. Okay, so on the first day they were visiting me, we actually did something that was pretty Western. My dad has decided that after his whole life working as a doctor, he was going to semi-retire and start working on a PhD in history of art. He's a man who likes to keep busy. He's very interested in the Pre-Raphaelites, a famous group of British artists, and there was actually an exhibition focusing on them in Tokyo while they were there, so we decided to go. It's in the Mitsubishi Ichigokan Bijutsukan, which is a museum I've never been to before. It's in Marunouchi near Tokyo Station. Historically there was a red brick building there designed by a British architect, but they pulled it down in the 60s and then they rebuilt it about 10 years ago as this museum. Actually, I was really worried, it being the beginning of Golden Week, that it was going to be really crowded. I've been to art museums in Tokyo before that have just been so crowded. It's like being in the inside of a rush hour train, and you see a lot more of another person's neck than you do of the paintings themselves. But this time it was fine. The crowds weren't too bad. We got to see everything we wanted to see, and yeah, it was a well-curated exhibition with some paintings we hadn't seen before. Obviously they'd done a little bit of padding. There were a lot more of the Pre-Raphaelites associates than the Pre-Raphaelites themselves represented. There was definitely not as much Millet as I would have wanted to see there, but yeah, there were some very impressive paintings by the likes of Rossetti, and we really enjoyed the trip. After that we ate some tasty tempura, and then we headed to the Imperial Palace because it was so close and it was Coronation Day that day, so we thought maybe something would be happening. There wasn't really much to look at, but there was a little crowd gathered, people waving the Japanese flag. It had a nice kind of festive feeling to it, and of course Mum and Dad hadn't seen the palace walls before. If you don't know, the palace in Tokyo, there's not really a castle there anymore. There used to be historically, but it was I think burned down many years ago. So basically people go there to look at the watchtowers on the walls. So we had a look at those, and yeah, headed home. Then not far from where I live, there's this museum called the Edo Tokyo Museum. It was refurbished last year and it was reopened, and it seemed appropriate because, we'd just seen the Imperial Palace buildings, and there you have a model of how the palace used to be. There's a nice replica of the Nihonbashi, the Japan Bridge, which now has a big flyover over it. And yeah, basically it's quite a cute museum and a great little window into how Tokyo used to be in the Edo period. There's lots of models of houses and kabuki theatres and mannequins wearing beautiful kabuki outfits. It's definitely worth a visit. The next day, which was our last full day in Tokyo, we went to Shibamata, probably the most interesting historical area that's close to my house. Shibamata is a very interesting little gem in the east of Tokyo. It's kind of halfway between a theme park and a very historical location. Basically, it's a beautiful little old-fashioned neighborhood with a very beautiful temple. But it's famous in Japan for being the setting for the Otoko wa tsurai yo movies, which means being a man is tough. And it's generally known for its main character, Tora-san. And they made a lot of these movies. They started in 1969, and they were still making them in 1995. I think there are over 40 of these movies, and they're actually making a new one to be released at the end of this year. So because of the popularity of these films and how important Shibamata is to this main character Tora-san's sense of self-identity and it being his beloved hometown, the town itself has been preserved kind of in tribute to that movie. So when you visit there today, you find a place that's, well, one part old-fashioned, sweet-natured, slow-paced Japanese neighborhood, and one part kind of theme park devoted to these movies. I'm not sure how they're going to make this new movie, because the lead actor passed away in the 90s. For us, we mostly really enjoyed the atmospheric shopping street with lots of old shops selling things like dango and for some reason lots of cute froggy toys too. But the highlight of the visit is definitely the big Buddhist temple, the Taishaku-ten. So like most temples in Japan, it was founded hundreds of years ago, but most of the buildings are about 100 or maybe 150 years old. The temple was founded in the 17th century, in 1629 to be precise, and one of the striking things you'll see as soon as you go through the impressive main gate is this tree with these huge horizontal branches that is very hard to get into one shot with a still camera. There are two things about the temple that are really beautiful and make it worth a visit though. The first is these wooden carvings that are apparently a big feature of the Torasan movies. These carvings were made in the 20s and 30s, and I think they are really masterful. There's a lot of very impressive, very intricate works. You can see on the labels that different artists made them, but there are some things they were sort of charged with doing the same, like these motifs of birds and turtles, and then some scenes they depicted in their own special way, which I think genuinely very, very impressive. I've often read that the artists who worked on these carvings also worked on the famous carvings at Toshogu in Nikko, which was made in honor of Tokugawa Ieyasu. Of course, the timing doesn't really line up, but potentially some of the later carvings or remade carvings after Toshogu was damaged and burned down could have been made by these same artists who worked here. Either way, there's real mastery on display here, and it's not something you can see just anywhere. I haven't seen carvings like this in any other temple in Tokyo, so even though it's not well known to foreigners, I think Shibamata and this temple are well worth a visit. And that's doubly true because the second major attraction of the temple of Taishaku-ten is the garden behind the main temple. It's called Suikeien, and the first time I visited this temple, I didn't know this was here, so it was a real surprise for me. It's one of the most beautiful Japanese gardens I've ever seen. It's not large and it's not ancient, it was only designed in the 60s, but it really is using that space in a beautiful way, and there's this walkway that you can follow around the garden that was just beautiful. And we were really lucky because this entire 3 days in Tokyo were pretty wet and dreary, but the sun came out almost as if just to allow us to enjoy this garden for an hour or two. Great timing, really. I've taken a particular interest in ishidoro, or stone lanterns, and there were some very fine examples here, as well as some very handsome fish, and some cute turtles too. Once we were satisfied with that, we headed to Shinjuku to go to a restaurant we'd already visited last year. We don't normally like to go back to restaurants more than once, but some plans had changed with how long my parents were going to spend in Tokyo this year, and it was Golden Week, so I was a little worried about getting reservations, so I made sure to book this one that I knew everybody liked. Up on the 52nd floor of the well-known Park Hyatt Hotel is the New York Grill. Now obviously that doesn't sound like a particularly Japanese place to take my parents, but it's my favourite place to eat wagyu, or Japanese beef. They have extremely high quality cuts of beef here. It's expensive, but it's absolutely delicious. If you go at lunchtime, there's also a beautiful buffet that you can choose from as a starter, and then many desserts at the end as well. Couple that with a beautiful view, and I can't recommend it enough. And maybe New York Grill sounds pretty exotic to Japanese ears. So yeah, that was the first few days of our holiday and the first few days of Golden Week spent in Tokyo. The next day we went into full-on tourist mode, going on the Shinkansen over to Kansai. While we were in Kansai, we stayed in Osaka, but we also visited Kyoto, Nara, Himeji and Kobe. So if you're interested in what we got up to there, please stick around for some more videos coming up. For today though, that's all. Thank you so much for watching. Bye bye.
Yeah.